Breaking news. The Boston Celtics have just executed a 3-team trade that will without question not only lead to an NBA championship this season, but now we will no longer have to wonder if they're going to find their third star, because they have found it. And damn it, James, if you don't stop. Let's review it next, guys. Back to reality. The Boston Celtics did actually execute a 3-team trade that was involving both the Denver Nuggets and the San Antonio Spurs. I'll get to the full details of it here in a minute, but ultimately on the Celtics side, it landed us both Bol Bol and PJ Dozier, who actually played with the Celtics back in 18-19 season. Now, obviously, the prize being Bol Bol. So who is Bol Bol? 22-year-old Sudanese born player, actually grew up in Kansas, bounced around a little bit in high school before, I believe, ultimately graduating from Finland Prep, which was in Nevada. He was actually a McDonald's All-American, one of the top 5-star recruits in the entire nation, before ultimately going to the University of Oregon. Now, he was drafted, before, and we'll get to his collegiate career in a second, but before an injury derailed his season, he was projected as a top 3 pick. Like a lot of people were saying, Zion, RJ Barrett, and then Bol Bol. He was up there even before Ja started to make the late run after he was injured, but ultimately the injury would have him drop all the way to the 44th pick in the second round, where the Miami Heat would take him before ultimately trading him to the Denver Nuggets. Let's take a look at Bol Bol and his collegiate career. Now, unfortunately, he would sustain a foot injury that would derail his season prematurely and result in him only being able to participate in 9 total games. Now, in these 9 games, he would average 21 points, nearly 10 rebounds. Now, get this. On 2.8 attempts from 3 a game, he was averaging 52% from 3. So again, you're looking at a stat line of 21 points, 9.6 rebounds and assists, 2.7 blocks, and again, 2.7 attempts from 3 at 52%. Now, he was a collegiate teammate of our current backup point guard, Peyton Pritchard, in the 2018-2019 season at Oregon. Now, if you actually compare that to his, summer league stats. Now, remember, he was a part of that group like Pritchard or, Neesmith, who missed their first summer league just based on health and safety and it being canceled. So coming into his sophomore, he was one of the sophomore players in the summer league, making his debut. Now, he would, in only 3 games, average 26.9, so about 27 minutes a game, and he was right at 22 points, just under 7 rebounds, and 2.3 blocks. So very similar statistics to his collegiate career. And I think that is where you see the flashes, you know what I mean? Where you see all the dribbling between the legs, behind the back, the pull-up jumpers, the 3-point, and it's just such fluidity to his game for being, a 7-foot player. Now, if you look at his career in the NBA, he has played 3 years and only played in 53 games, and that is not due to injury. However, with that being said, as mentioned, he is out right now with a foot injury. He is expected or has already had surgery on that foot and is to be sidelined anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks. So there's a good chance he doesn't even play for the Boston Celtics this season. But if you look at the 3 years of his career, he's averaging right at 3 points, 1 rebound, and every other stat, it's not quite at 1. So as in 0.3 blocks, 0.3 assists, etc. So he really is one of the big question marks of the league when you really think about it. Just one of those guys that flashes so much potential, but you can't really put your finger on why. Why is it that he can't crack a rotation, especially looking at, Denver this year and just how many injury. I mean, the league, not just Denver, just the league in general when it comes to health and safety and how many players are out. And Even in that year, he still only played in 14 games, averaging less than 6 minutes a game. But I watched a lot of his film here the last couple hours, just researching him and seeing how he's doing. At first, I don't think he's as much of a defensive liability as some people have made him out to be. I do think he has some shortcomings and a lot of room of improvement, but I do think he is a solid rim protector. He alters a lot of shots, and he does have an ability to close out, and it does affect the form of a lot of jump shots as well. So it's positioning for him. It's basketball IQ. I mean, there's a lot of times he looks lost. His assignment will be out on the three-point line shooting a three. You know what I mean? And he won't get the rebound. He won't close out, and he'll just be standing there. The team will get the rebound back, offensive rebound, and he'll still be stuck while his guy is moved on to another place, gets another wide-open shot. It's just lapses like that. And then there's times offensively where I'll see him just, he's got one of those problems that because you have all the offensive skills in the world, you tend to try to overuse them. And there's times where he's taking like a 20-foot fading across the middle of the lane, jumper across his body with someone on him instead of passing it up to a wide open three-pointer in the corner. So those are the things I think he does that has gotten him benched. And it seems like through some, of his teammates and some of the things they've come out publicly and said, he may have a little bit of an ego. Now, after all, he is the son of, NBA legend Manute Bol. Now, if you don't remember Manute, he was a player back in, the 80s, early 90s, played over a decade in the NBA. He was known as one of the tallest players in NBA history. He was actually 7'7" at the time, but was a political activist, like I said, and had 10 total children, and Bol Bol just happened to be one of them. So it was Michael Porter Jr. who actually came out and just kind of said that Bol Bol literally has all of the tools in the toolkit, has it all, and could be a big, I guess he was referring to Denver at the time, but basically he was saying they could be a big part of that team. He's just got to get the right mindset, right mentality. So, to me, again, all the skills in the world. This trade, to me, you're sending out Wancho, who was a player not really playing here, and it was a salary move. You can look at it that way. Obviously, you're sending out Wancho making nearly $6-7 million. You're getting back Bol Bol and PJ, who are making a combined, 3-4, if that. So it gets you to within less than $1 million from being under the cap. I completely understand that. Bol Bol, like I said, is out for up to 12 weeks. PJ's on an ACL. Neither one of them might play this entire season for the Celtics. I don't think you'll ever see PJ suit up again. Now, don't forget, he actually did play here several years ago, and with minutes, he actually looked good at times. I do remember that. Excuse me, but I will say Bol Bol is the more intriguing one because next season, he is scheduled to make 2.7 or 2.6 million, right? So it's kind of one of those things when you look at Ennis's situation, Al's, just our front court depth in general. You've obviously got Rob solidified, boom, that's your starting center. And then it's kind of like, well, Al's on that partial guaranteed contract. He's clearly starting to show his age as the season goes on. So is it one of those things where you really want to bring him back? And because I believe how it works, and correct me if I'm wrong to the cap gurus out there, but if they bring him back, they have to pay him the entirety of the whatever, $27 million or whatever he's on the books for. But if they cut ties with him because it's partially guaranteed, they'd only get penalized for 13-14 million, I think is how it works. So is it you want to pay Al Horford, a 37-year-old at the time, Al Horford, who's clearly, like I said, as this midpoint of the season's going on, he started to actually show that he is human. So big decision there, and Ennis is on an expiring. So he probably won't be brought back. I mean, so you're in that situation. Who else do you really have? So you've got this kid, Bol Bol, who, like I said, has all the potential in the world, hasn't really worked out yet, has one of his college teammates here on the team already, you know what I mean, fits that exact same age group with all the, the Grants, the Romeos, the Neesmiths, the Paytons of the world, and you can bring him in, see how he fits, run him through some summer league with the boys, he's actually probably aged out of summer league, but, just see how it goes in the early season. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually try his hand as their backup center, depending on what kind of moves they make and if they actually address bringing in, a backup for Rob. But Either scenario wouldn't surprise me. I do believe he does not play a game for the Celtics this season, but it wouldn't surprise me if he is immediately sent out at some point, as money, to get them under the cap. And it wouldn't surprise me if they bring him back next season just as a backup big to see what they have. But otherwise, guys, if you look at the other players that were involved in this trade, you had the Spurs ultimately ending up with Juancho from the Boston Celtics, and you had Brian Forbes ending up with the Denver Nuggets. So what are the Spurs getting from Juancho? They're getting 26-year-old. He just hasn't had that great of an opportunity with the Celtics, only averaging about 5 minutes a game, 1.1 rebound. We've seen flashes in the past. We had that run with the Timberwolves, getting over 30 minutes a game, shooting over 40% from three, where I think he was averaging closer to like 13 and 7 or 8. So, I'm not sure exactly what they plan on doing with him. Maybe they hold on, see what they can turn him into, or maybe they plan to move on with him. But as far as the Nuggets, they actually get the prize here, with Bryn Forbes, who, this is a guy who's actually averaging closer to 10 points right now this year, but he's a gentleman that is shooting like 40+% from three. He's a career 41+% from three guy on like 4 or 5 attempts. So right now this season with the Spurs, he was actually averaging 9 points, 1.5 rebounds, an assist. And like I said, shooting exactly at 41.5% on 4 attempts. So Denver is getting a sharpshooter there. It would have been nice for the Celtics to actually hold on to a player like that. However, I see how he's more of a contender team. You know what I mean? Like, that's the perfect player you bring into a team trying to make that run, because he's making, I think, about $4.5 million. So even that trade straight up would have been great. Him for Juancho, we still would have been saving money, but it does look like, Denver needs some shooting, to go around Jokic, and I'm not sure exactly what's going on with Murray coming back, but I believe that Denver is the one, who sought out, getting Forbes, and the Celtics were brought in to, to facilitate just the actual deal coming to fruition. That's my, beliefs. But those are the other players that are involved in this trade, making the 3-team trade. So how do I feel about this overall? I feel really good. Like I said, small risk, potential high reward, not really sending out much, sending out somebody who wasn't even playing, only averaging 5 minutes, 1 point, 1 rebound. I wish Juancho the best of luck, and you're getting, like I said, a 7-foot-plus player with handles and a jumper, you know what I mean? So we'll just have to see how that works out. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play a minute with the Celtics. In fact, I don't expect PJ to. This could end up being a salary move, trying to get them under the cap. But then again, with their front court situation that we mentioned, I could also see them bringing back Bol Bol next year, just to kind of see if he fills that back up to Rob. I don't think this is the last trade of this current season with Brad. Ime recently said that his phone had rung 10 times in that little bit of time they had spent together, all involving trades. And Woj came out recently stating, making it seem like everyone, with exception to the Jays and Rob, were available, gauging Marcus Smart interest, Schroeder interest, Richardson interest. I'm not really sure how this ends up. I, again, wouldn't be surprised to see a small move where they just bring in like a T. Ross or somebody like that, or just sending out Schroeder, and ending up with some picks or a younger player who's not on an expiring. That wouldn't surprise me. Then again, it wouldn't surprise me if some of the bigger rumors are true. If you see like Horford and Schroeder go out and they get back Buddy Hield and whoever, or somebody recently said, would you give up Smart, Schroeder, and a pick for DeJounte Murray? Nothing would really surprise me at this point, except if the Jays or Rob ended up going, which to me, those are the only 3 that are set in stone moving forward. You've heard me say it, and I'll say it again. I don't think they need to blow up anything. They are 1 to 2 right moves away from being right back in the thick of it. Me and my man Bobby B. Smooth are making some huge moves, and we'll have a huge announcement coming out probably today, if not tomorrow. Please stay tuned to that. A rewind in time, my Isaiah Tech retrospective, that episode will be finishing up. I'll either have that out later out today or maybe sometime early tomorrow. Also, trust the podcast, episode 12, later on this week as well. Otherwise, guys, as always, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it more than you could ever know. Jags to riches, James Peters. Have an incredible conclusion to the rest of your day. Thanks, guys.